Thanks for tuning in to yet another episode on the Voices of Boyle. This week, I'm joined by Kathleen Redmond, who will chat about her journey from London to Boyle. She also details building one of Ireland's most unique children's clothing brands from scratch and facing all kinds of ups and downs along the way, from fashion industry hurdles to Brexit to surviving the chaos of COVID. Kathleen opens up about what drew her to Boyle, the challenges and triumphs of running a small business in rural Ireland, and what home truly means to her after 20 years of living here. You can expect a few laughs, honesty, plenty of local colour, as well as reflections on how our community has changed and stayed the same over time. Plus, you'll hear some heartfelt thoughts about what makes Boyle such a special place and why we need to preserve its magic. Before we jump into this week's episode, don't forget you can follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Just search @Voices of Boyle to stay in the loop. All right, so let's get into the episode with Kathleen. Kathleen, very welcome to the Voices of Boyle. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Kathleen, tell us a bit about where you originated from in the UK.
Well, I was born in London in a place called West Hampstead, which sounds all swanky and posh now, but back in the day, it wasn't quite what it is. My parents are both Irish, so they moved over in the 70s and accidentally ended up staying there. So
in Boyle?
In London.
Right, and they moved over to...
They moved over to England.
Ah, okay.
As in their 20s.
Okay, perfect. And so you came to Boyle, I think, 2005.
Yeah.
That was your first time?
That was my first time in Boyle, yeah.
Right, and you had been in Ireland before that?
Yeah, so as kids we'd come and... I've got family... So my dad was from Galway. He was born in Athlone, but his mother died when he was 7 and they were rushed off to Galway. So my dad grew up in Galway and my mum grew up in Athlone.
Okay, and that's so you used to come over then to visit them?
Yeah. We were typical second generation, you know.
Back in the 80s?
Yeah.
Okay, and what was Ireland like back then?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
Fell in love with it?
Absolutely. I was so jealous of my cousins because I've got like 30 cousins. Typical Irish family.
And was your parents, when they used to come over, did they live in the countryside or were they in the towns? Or Towns, okay. So,
yeah.
Well, coming from London to rural Ireland in a way, it was still a big change.
Yeah.
Okay.
My favourite place was Castlereagh.
Really?
Yeah, Treen. That's
Treen,
where my Auntie Bernadette lived, in Treen. And I loved it. There was no cars.
Really?
I used to pinch the cat's eyes out of the road. I'd go down with a bucket. I collected anything shiny and I'd go down with a bucket and I'd be picking the cat's eyes out of the road. It's probably illegal now.
And so you moved to Boyle then in 2005.
Yeah.
And you've been here since.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll get into that a little. Your business is called Slugs and Snails. It's a tongue twister.
Yeah, I know. Especially if you're drunk.
So how did that... Okay, so tell us a bit about that business.
Okay, so we started in 2000 and, God, when was it? 8. We had our first son, Noah, and we live out past you, up the hill in a really windy old house.
Up towards Coolfada.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like out in the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And the house was freezing. Like it was freezing and you walk in with a baby and we were like, shit, it's actually really cold. And my mum got me to put a pair of tights on him. And she was like, oh, these will keep him warm. Just put him under his clothes. And I loved them. They just like, you could see all this fat and his big fat nappy. And I was like, these are ace. So I went on the internet to see if you could buy boys' tights because they were pink. And every time I put him on them, people would go, oh, she's gorgeous. And I got sick of going, no, she's a he. And then like they just looked perplexed. They were like, why is he wearing tights? So I thought, oh, what's going on here? So I Googled boys' tights and I found a massive Mumsnet forum. Do you remember Mumsnet? It was like when the internet was kind of climbing, it was like a mum's, it's like Instagram is now for mums. So there was just pages and pages of people saying, why don't they make tights for boys? They're so useful. They're great for babies. They can't pull the socks off. When they're baby wearing, you don't get bare legs. And I straight away was like, right, there's a gap in the market. And I just straight away said, I'm going to make boys' tights. Everybody around me said, you're mental. Everyone, apart from my mum and my dad. That was it. Everyone else, all my friends were like, no way, it's never going to work.
So
yeah.
niche.
They were like, it's never going to work. And it took me 3 years I had a broken laptop. I never worked in anything fashion, had no interest in fashion. I'm shocking fashion sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a thing for me. I wasn't like into fashion. And it took me 3 years to find a company that could make what I wanted, because tights back then, the design ended at the hemline because they were for girls. And I wanted them as leggings. So I had to find a factory that could make the print all the way up to the waistband and then put a little logo embroidered on the back, which was impossible. The machines would just wreck tights. So we basically reinvented the tights market. And it took 3 years of like samples and production until we launched.
So you launched in 2005 or you started in 2005?
We started in 2008 and we launched in 2011. So we're 14 years this year.
Oh, okay. So
took 3 years.
3 years over and back and tweaking. And so you have a few different products.
We do now, yeah.
Right. So what are they?
So we started with the tights and then we started making socks. It was just like a natural progression. And then 2020 hit and nobody was buying tights because nobody's kids were going out. You're not going to spend 14 quid on a pair of fancy tights. So we had to basically think, how are we going to survive? And what was everyone doing? They were sitting around in their underpants and loungewear. So we started making loungewear.
So you diversified.
Yeah.
No choice, really.
Yeah. I wing everything I do.
Yeah.
Nothing I do is planned.
Yeah. Just go with the flow.
I just make up and think, right, let's do this.
And what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work. So you move on.
Or you go mad in the process.
Well, yeah. Well, that's all part of it. Yeah.
We were so jammy though. It saved us.
Right.
But we'd already hit a point in 2019 where we were on the brink of not being able to make it.
Okay. And we'll get into that later, because that is important. So 2011, when you launched, obviously, social media wasn't as prevalent as it is now.
No.
So how were you advertising? How were you kind of...
Twitter made us.
Twitter?
Yeah. So when we launched this business from our kitchen table with a broken laptop with £2,000 worth of products that we had made in a factory in Turkey. It was everything just kind of like fell into place. We were so jammy. None of this is done by like expertise. It's all just been sheer luck. And because we were such a niche product and there was a gap in the market, when I got my first samples in, I'd just take pictures of my son around the garden with them and I'd put them on Twitter and we got picked up by a few people. Angelica Bell was someone, Keris Matthews. There's quite a few like celebs that had kids that were the same age and they were like, this is great. I just sent them up products. I sent them out a couple of pairs and then they'd retweet us and they'd start talking about us. And when we launched in November 2011 and by December we were turning a profit.
Wow, that's crazy. That's brilliant to hear because you forget that Twitter was such a big, and now it is a big deal now, but it's more kind of it's not as real e-com oriented.
No, I wouldn't use it now.
No, TikTok, Snapchat, Insta, Face, all that. But that's really interesting that, I suppose you had to work with what you had at the time and that was it.
Yeah. Mum bloggers were a big thing.
Yeah, they were back then.
That's what it was. I forgot about that. It was the mum bloggers. So I took on my first retailers by just emailing them. So I built the business without ever leaving the country. I think it was 3 years before I left the country. It was just we just got in at the right time. There was mum bloggers, so you could send them a couple of pairs of tights. They would do a blog post. That would link back to your website. The more you got spoken about in these blog posts, I didn't know any of this at the time.
SEO, this is...
The SEO, yeah. And I knew none of this.
It's the currency of the internet, those backlinks.
Yeah.
And that's really then fires up your website. It gets you found for all different synonyms of your keyword.
Yeah.
So what would be the main keyword you're found for with Slugs and Snails?
Boys' tights.
Boys' tights.
Yeah.
Okay. Still.
Now I don't itch. No, I probably should know these things. See, I don't ever check.
Yeah,
that's probably why we're not as big as we should be. There's lots of things I don't do.
It's probably interesting. You've had the same domain name for the website for all those years. So even if you were to completely redesign that website, the underlying SEO is still always going to be there. Google is going to have that latched or anchored to certain keywords. Yeah. So, you're going to, and you probably don't know what, you can find that out though.
Yeah, I know. There is people that find it out and email me and tell me things that I should know.
But just for yourself, but it's interesting. So do you do both male and female tights now?
They were always unisex.
Or they're unisex?
Well, no,
always?
actually they were boys' tights. That's why we were Slugs and Snails. Because no one made these things for boys. Back in 2008, the boys' clothing market was really generic. It was like when Noah was born, all we got lots of lovely presents and it was really nice. I sound really ungrateful when I say this, but it was mostly jeans. And he was fat. And it's like really uncomfortable as a baby to be in jeans. And I remember one day I put him in this really cool little pair of jeans and he went to pull himself up and he couldn't get up. And then I swapped them and put the tights on and he was off. And I was like, these make so much sense. But they look like girls' tights. So I had to keep explaining to people, no, they're not tights, they're Slugs and Snails. That was the difference. They're leggings with socks. Basically,
I was going to ask the name Slugs and Snails. I'm going to.
It's what little boys are. I know.
I'm getting tongue tied here.
Yeah, I get so many people emailing me asking me if we're a garden centre.
All right.
Yeah, we're not, and we don't sell Slugs and Snails.
So where did the name, like the inspiration for the name, come from? Because
it's such a shady thing. Like that sounds really dark, but a lot of people aren't comfortable with putting boys in tights, even though. Historically, tights on boys were just always a thing, and you'll see even like the royal family would put navy tights on boys under shorts. It's always been a product that people use for boys, but a lot of people needed to be told it's okay for boys to wear tights. They're just clothes, and so by Slugs and Snails is what little boys are made of, sugar and spice and all things nice. So we kind of played on that. But that kind of backfired as well at the same time, because then we had all the people who had girls saying, why are these just for boys? This isn't inclusive. And I'd say, well, girls have tights, and there's if you go into any store, you'll see the girls have a massive range of things and they have way more colour choices, whereas boys, it was just like very blue jeans, video game stuff. And, my son's favourite colour was orange. Couldn't find anything orange. So I just wanted... more colour choices, more patterns. And also when I was testing products, I remember I used to go to this baby group and a woman one day said to me, I love the way you dress him because I see a sea of pink and a sea of blue and then Noah. And that was it. And that to me was like, oh, that's exactly what I want. Like they should look like kids, not little daddy, little mummy, little princess, rough and tumble, just a little kid. He likes all sorts of things like balloons and cars and like anything. Like, so that for me was what I wanted. I wanted something really kind of like 80s. When we were kids, we grew up handing down clothes. Like I had 2 older brothers and I used to get their clothes. But you couldn't really do that now with the market that we have, because girls' tops are all crop tops and, boys' stuff is always like really gendered towards them. It's not just like a green jumper. My brothers would have like green jumpers and red jumpers, and it was really hard to find those colours for boys now. Well, not anymore, but when we started out, there was just no colour choice. And so I wanted I wanted more retro kind of products.
Yeah, okay. And then challenges that you faced, Kathleen, creating the business. So obviously there's a lot of hurdles at the start.
Yeah.
You mentioned 3 years going over and back, getting everything kind of tweaked in that. Were there any other major hurdles at the early days that you faced?
Endless.
Really?
Finance. If you're not connected in fashion, it's really hard. You're like swimming against the tide. There's a real, it's kind of like a little mafia. We weren't cool. I wasn't, in London hanging out with all like the cool mummy bloggers. We're based in Ireland. There's definitely, there was definitely an anti-Irish sentiment to us. That probably sounds really dramatic. But even when I was launching, a lot of people said to me, we'll take your brand, but not if you're .ie. Change it to .com.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the early days, .ie, our email used to get marked as spam because it wasn't recognised by a lot of servers. So we'd get a lot of we wouldn't be able to contact people. A lot of the yummy mummies kind of look down their nose.
But it is .ie.
Yeah, we stayed .ie.
We
are Irish.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, because I checked it and I was like, .ie.
.ie. Will always be .ie.
And I suppose, could you have, do you own the .com version as well?
No.
Or that, because you can redirect that to .ie so that if someone types it in, it can redirect.
No, I will stick at .ie.
Yeah, no, that's good. You've got I think, isn't it Dawn, Chris's wife, has been endorsed. I remember a piece, I think, on some morning show or something. She was showing the
Yeah,
socks off or
recently.
something.
She's
So
ace.
right, okay, so
Yeah.
that's good.
It's good. We actually have had a load of celebrity endorsement. I have had. I don't know why, but maybe it's my charm. No, we've got Rolling Stones, James Bond,
Really?
Justin Bieber's sister. No, Justin Bieber's wife's sister, Leah Baldwin. Ronnie Wood would be, his wife is a huge supporter of us.
And they will be on what social media would they be plugging or giving
Yeah.
it on
Yeah.
on TikTok or some of them? Is it?
No, we're all too old for TikTok.
I suppose we are actually. Yeah.
Can't do TikTok. I've tried. It's just, no.
I know.
Honestly,
I'm
I feel like
I've
an
never
idiot.
been on it, so I just can't.
Oh, I go on it and I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then
You need
out.
3 seconds of attention.
Yeah.
3 seconds. That's all you got.
Yeah. And I can't dance, I can't sing, and I don't look good on camera. So it's like, no, I'm out of here. Honestly.
Yeah.
And it's not my demographic. Like, teenagers do not want tights for babies or my pajamas.
Right. Yeah. So you have to stick
So
in your
I'm
lane.
just going to, exactly, stay in my lane.
Exactly.
It's like mums, toddlers, and gay men.
All right. Okay. Interesting. And what's what platform is your best bang for your buck, if you like?
Instagram. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Right.
I love Instagram.
Okay. And that's where your demographic really is.
Yeah. It was Facebook. Facebook was great. I loved Facebook. And then it just
it's got really bad lately though. It's just it's not as much exposure, really isn't.
No, and I'm paying. I never took out advertising. That was one thing. I don't know if it was a mistake or a good idea, but I never paid for advertising. Everything we got until August last year was organic traffic. So it was word of mouth. It was repeat customers. It was people like Dawn and Sally, and just because we make a really good quality product. That's the thing, like I always stayed with that. But we can't continue to do that. We can't continue to be a small mum and dad business because at some point in time we're going to die of heart attack. We need to grow, and we're 13 years now in business. We should be in a much bigger place. When I look at the brands that survived with us, like most of them haven't survived, but those who survived with us are twice, maybe some of them even 10 times bigger than us now.
Yeah, I get it. And I suppose people then listening will say, well, that brings its own set of problems as well when you expand and scale.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different story, I suppose. It's for some it's good, others it's like it brings its own headache and stress, and it's like, what's the point? What's the end result?
Yeah.
But I suppose, look, going forward then, future plans for Slugs and Snails.
Change the name?
Cats.
No, do you want my honest? No, do you want the honest opinion?
Yeah.
I want to be a millionaire.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I want to buy a big Georgian house. I want to float around in a dress from Laura Ashley, play the piano, and write a novel. I am never going to do any of those things, but in my head, that's my plan. Honestly, that's my plan.
We all have to have dreams.
In 10 years' time, you will see me more grey, probably kicking cats around Boyle, wearing tights, broke. Honestly. But yeah, no, we are Ireland's longest running independent children's wear brand. I know we don't really have many competitors, but it's still a
little milestone.
Yeah, for a little business based in Boyle, we started with $2,000 from our kitchen table. We then moved from the kitchen table to the bedroom, then to the enterprise centre in Boyle, to the office which we own. We've survived absolute, like, the most mental situations.
So I want to get into that, but first, you came to Boyle 2005.
Yeah.
Boyle is a very different town 20 years later.
Absolutely.
So give me your first impressions when you arrived in Boyle. What was Boyle like that you can remember? Because I
can remember it so vividly.
Really?
I remember my mum had a house in Castlereagh, and my auntie lives in Castlereagh, so that would be where I would come as a kid. And I remember having a job interview in Boyle, and my auntie brought me down. I went to the job interview, and then before we left, I said, "Can you drive around so I can have a look?" I fell in love with it straight away. I come from central London to this beautiful little town with a clock in the middle, and there was just something about it. I was like, yeah, I could live here, no problem. Andy had never been. before we moved over at all. Like, I just sold him out straight away. I was like, right, we're moving here. We went out to the forest park, and as we had a Labrador back then, and as my auntie drove through that avenue with the trees over the top, I was like, right, that's it. This is going to be where I'm going to live. I loved it. I thought it was the most beautiful place. And when she got down to the end and there was the lake and the castle, I was like, this is like everything I always wanted as a kid. I never wanted to live in London. I always wanted to live in Ireland.
Okay. And Andy is from London as well?
No, he's born in Manchester but grew up in Leeds.
Okay.
So we met at uni.
Right, okay. So again, it was been a big change of scenery for him as well, because he hadn't been here before.
Never.
And did he take to it like a duck to water?
No, he did not.
Okay, he struggled.
Oh my God. Especially like we were living in Castlereagh when we first moved, and he comes from like a small northern family. He had never been to Ireland. Oh no, he had. He'd been once to see my mum. He didn't have the childhood experience that I had, where it's very community orientated, and there'd be loads of family. You know, when we'd come over from England as kids, the family would just descend wherever we were, and there'd be aunties and uncles and cousins and everything. And I loved it. It was just like amazing. You were like a celebrity for a couple of days until people got bored. So like when we moved over and the family descended on us, he couldn't handle it. Thought it was such an invasion. And also, like, there was one day we were in our house and my uncle drove past, he was in the shower and my uncle drove past the bathroom window on a tractor. And he was just like, what the fuck? Is there no privacy? And I was like, oh, you get used to it. And now, you know, like, he wouldn't go anywhere else. You can't get him out of the place. He won't leave.
Yeah, I suppose because you're just a number in the likes of London.
Yeah.
Whereas you come to small town living, everyone knows your business, as you said.
Yeah, you're anonymous in a city.
Yeah. Whereas then you're here, and as you said, everyone gets to know you until they get bored of you and that kind of, but then everyone knows you.
Yeah.
And so what kind of changes then have you seen in Boyle? Because it's always interesting getting a perspective for someone that, you know, didn't grow up in Boyle.
Yeah.
Like myself. Just to see what your initial impressions, you loved it obviously.
I loved it. We used to spend every Friday night in the moving stairs.
Ah, yes.
Out of work, into the moving stairs. We'd take it in turns. One would drink 1 week, and then the next week we'd sit by the fire, play board games, and it was just it was a happy town. It was a bus, like there was loads going on. It was a beautiful location. It wasn't cut off though and remote. It was welcoming. We were really welcomed into Boyle.
Really good.
Yeah. I always felt like, you know, we were blow-ins. The odd person would call us a tan when they were pissed, but like in a joking way. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
But like I loved it. I never, like, when I first moved, all my friends from uni and my friends from home were like, "What are you doing?" I left a job in the Daily Telegraph in Canary Wharf to come and work in Boyle, which everyone considered to be like the coolest place in the world to work. For me, it was torture. I'd have to get on a tube train at 7 o'clock in the morning to avoid being squashed. I'd get panic attacks, you know, because there'd be like armpits and all sorts going on. And I couldn't cope with it. And it was a great place to work. But when I came over here, it's just, I felt so much safer. And then actually about 3 days after we moved, the bombings happened in London. And I would have been on the tube train to Canary Wharf.
Wow. Okay.
So like it was quite dramatic.
Yeah. And how has your definition, Kathleen, of home changed since relocating to Boyle?
That's a good question. See, I've always considered myself Irish, but I sound so fucking English. People hate it. I've got the most obnoxious accent in the world. Like, Andy's got a northern accent and everyone's like, oh yeah, you know, and they love it. Mine, I can see people cringing. After
20 years, you haven't picked up any of the paddiness.
No. And my son was born here. He never went to London until he was 3 and he couldn't sound more English.
Really?
It's really annoying.
Okay.
I don't. And my parents were both Irish. That's the thing. And most people have a twang. But I can't remember what the question was now.
So how is your definition
home.
of home changed?
This is home.
Yeah.
It took me a long time. I did crave London sometimes. There's some things that stand out really obviously when you're like born in the city and you move to a small town. It takes a long time for you to actually feel like it's home because I am a blow-in. I don't have a big family network. Boyle isn't a town connected to my family. So when I was in Castlereagh, it was different. Everyone knew my auntie and my uncle, and so you kind of sucked in a little bit quicker. It's not that you're not welcome. We always felt really welcome in Boyle, but we didn't have a connection. So I'd go back to London, and I would kind of my mum's home in London was like my childhood home, and I loved it. I'd never lived there, and now I found over, I'd say, the last 6 or 7 years, when I go to London, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah, you want to come back. Yeah. And would you ever see yourself moving anywhere else in Ireland, or if you the day came that maybe you were just said, that's it, we're going to try somewhere else, would there be anywhere else in Ireland you'd like to try?
Yeah, that Georgian house.
yeah.
By the sea.
Yeah.
I've got my eye on a few of them. I'm never going to buy one, but that would be the only thing. A big house by the sea. You know, where the wind like howls through it on a...
Yeah.
I live in a fantasy novel, to be honest. When I hear myself talking, I'm like, what are you on about? Probably not. You'll probably find me up there in 50 years' time. No, I just love it. And because it's 20 years. I've lived here longer than anywhere else now.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
And that's, you've also lived here a lot longer than a lot of people.
A lot of people were born and raised here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's...
Yeah.
And is there anything then that, an unexpected thing that about Boyle that you've come to love?
Definitely, I think over the last few years, we've come to appreciate the connections that we have in Boyle now. That's something I couldn't walk away from now because my kids were born and raised here. And the people that we're close to, known them their whole lives. And there's a safety that comes with that. Yeah, but like... as much as if I get pissed off with things, I do think, I'm going to sell up. I'm going to go somewhere else. I don't think I could walk away now.
Okay, yeah.
It's home.
The roots
people,
are here, yeah.
Yeah,
our kids as well. They're reared here.
And there's people I know around town who are getting older now who kind of I've grown up with now. You know, even just like people like in shops, there's old neighbours at the office. There's people now who kind of feel like they're part of our family. And I don't think I could just walk away from that. Like, this is home, 100%.
Yeah. So then, I know obviously when COVID hit, Kathleen, your business was majorly affected.
Absolutely.
So detail that to us about what that time was like.
Oh, it was actually just before COVID, Brexit. Brexit took us down first.
All right.
That was brutal. So we mostly export. We're really lucky in that sense. Like, Ireland is a small marketplace, and Penneys is like the major shareholder here in terms of kids' clothes. There's no competing with them. So we're big exporters. Before Brexit, we had about 120 shops around the world. We were everywhere. We were really growing at a really good pace. We put in our biggest ever factory order with a new factory in Poland, which was an absolute disaster. It was the biggest order we ever put. It was 100 grand's worth of stock. That for us as a small business.
Huge. That's huge.
Absolutely, it was amazing. The fact that we even had the demand for that. And it was the first factory that we went to. Andy flew out to Poland, and we had the whole factory was for us. It was a massive, big operation. And we'd just taken on Nordstrom as a supplier in America. And the factory, it all came down to one thing. Misunderstanding of English, and on the bottom of our tights it says the age, like 6 to 12 months, and they put 6 to 12 month.
All right, so just forgot the S.
Just forgot the S.
Right.
Which back then felt like catastrophic. No one would have even noticed. But when we noticed that on the samples we got for the Nordstrom order, they panicked and they pulled production, remade the production, which then delayed our entire season instead of just leaving it. So from that point on, we then had 100 grand's worth of production that disappeared. And we had Nordstrom, we had a huge amount of suppliers all waiting for all this stock who'd paid for stock, which we had then paid to a factory. Oh, it was chaos. So that started kind of like a snowball effect. And then Brexit hit, And a lot of our shops were in the UK. We had a huge amount of stockists in the UK, big ones as well, really good ones. And they levied their purchases on the value of the sterling. And when Brexit hit, the value of sterling it went through, like it was gone. So they just went under. You wouldn't believe they went under in absolute record speed. I'd say within 3 months, we lost 50% of them because they'd borrowed too much money, they'd ordered too much stock, and then a lot of European people wouldn't order from them. There was just like a complete cut off. And then 2020 hit. So we had the damage from the crap factory. Then we had Brexit. We lost loads of suppliers. And then we were trying to claw our way back out of that. And then 2020 hit.
Jab, jab, right hook kind of thing.
Literally.
Right.
Jab, jab, right hook. Yeah. So 2020, I thought we would be gone. We were left basically high and dry. The government, you see, we're at the bottom of the ladder. We don't produce alcohol. We're not big tech. We're not big pharma. If you're not in those categories as an Irish business, unless you're massive, you're not worth the investment. So we were just literally taken down overnight. We couldn't get into the office. Our shipping channels were completely cut off. Like Australia was our fastest growing market, and we had a really good shipping price to Australia. We couldn't ship to Australia. They cut off any shipping into Australia. So instantly we lost a huge amount of our recovery market, where we were trying to leave the UK and expand into Europe, expand into Australia and expand into the US. And that was cut off overnight. And there was no backup plan.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Why were the channels shut down? Like, what was the reason behind that?
Don't know.
Okay.
They say it was because they were stopping commercial flights.
Right. Okay.
So closing borders.
Okay. Right. That's the reason why, as you said. Yeah. Okay. So then what happened in that interim, that kind of like with the lockdown period?
Yeah.
No business was open, as we know, apart from the food, drink, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
What did you do? Did you just literally, everything was frozen? Panic, right? Okay.
Yeah. Panic stations. I think we got drunk. Honestly, recreational drinking became the new thing. And we weren't drinkers. That's the ironic thing. We weren't actually drinkers, but we had, like, what do we do? So the good thing is the Instagram community is quite good. We have quite a good customer base, and we did a lot of stuff where we gave people care packages. We tried to keep things going, made funny videos. But it's indescribable the effect it had. We would just close down overnight. There was no, we don't earn a wage.
Yeah.
We have to graft to get what we get. And we have to buy stock in, and we have to run production, and then we have to ship it in. And then what happened was we were closed down overnight. We were still doing little bits and bobs. We had that, whatever the money the government was giving on a weekly basis, which kept things paid. We never, unlike what we were told to do, we never stopped paying anything. Because I knew if we deferred all of the things, the overheads that we had, we wouldn't have been able to come out of that. I just had a suspicion that once everything opened up, it would be like, off you go, see you later. And I was right. I was 100% right. When we went into that, we probably had, I'd say, about 48 active retailers at that time. So we'd lost quite a lot with Brexit. We were about 120 before Brexit.
Oh, so you went from 120 down to about 48, 50.
Yeah.
And then COVID, everything.
Yeah. Last year we had 8 for our pre-order. And we rely on pre-orders to buy in our stock. So if we don't have pre-orders, we can't buy in stock. If we can't buy in stock, we can't stay in business. So it's like it's killed our wholesale, and we relied completely on wholesale to buy in stock. We have no bank finance. Banks will not finance retail businesses like ours. It's too fragile. It's the economy's too. It's just, everything's just too up in the air. Unless you're a massive big business with, a couple of million coming in, you're on your own.
Okay. And then during those dark days, did you think that you were ever going to or did you think you were going to survive it, as in we can't continue doing the business? Did it ever come to that you were at any stage that he says, you and Andy, that's it, it's finished?
No.
You didn't?
Well, yeah, we did, but we've got no plan B. We both work for the business. There's no way. I am completely unemployable. Swear to God, I could never. And so is he. We could never work for someone again. It is impossible. We are unemployable. We cannot fail. Even if we are selling them in the market for €1 a pair, this is all we have. It's all we have. There's no going back. So there was no, we have to just keep fighting.
So he obviously got through it, right? The dark days. Yeah. I do remember then you telling me when the whole kind of COVID era ended, something about shipping containers were costing like double, was it? What your shipping container was?
1,000% more expensive.
1,000%.
Some of them were 1,000. So when we went into 2020 and we diversified and decided to start making waffle sets, waffle cotton, it's just basically pajamas, but they can be worn as loungewear. We did the first product launch of that at the end of 2020, just a really small order. And well, no, it wasn't actually. It was 6 colours. So we managed to come back out of the lockdowns and launch this product that nobody in Europe was making. It's a really popular product in America. Waffle cotton is like a staple American fabric. I got the idea from Elliot and E.T. You know when Elliot gets sick in E.T. and he wears these white pajamas that are skin tight? I don't know if you've ever seen E.T.
I did, but I can't remember it.
I really wanted them as a kid, but you could only get them in America. So all my friends who went to America on holiday would always have these waffle pajamas. I came to Ireland on holiday, so I'd have a macaroon bar and a lucky bag. I didn't have these pajamas. I wanted them so bad. And then I said, I'm going to make them, but I'm going to make them European. So we made them 100% organic cotton, bright colours, and for adults as well as kids. And it saved us. So we did our first one of those at the end of 2020 and we pre-sold them all. It was like everybody wanted them. So we shipped them in by sea and our container, it was like half a container load and it cost us 220 quid. And then we reordered them because they all sold out and we shipped them in by sea again and it cost us nearly 8,000.
8,000?
Yeah.
So that's...
No profit.
No. My God.
And we never shipped by sea again. Because what happened in 2020, a lot of stuff was going on in the background that wasn't making the press. And it was like so infuriating because we're sitting here watching, everyone's attention was like clapping hands for the HSE and the NHS, distraction, bang your pots and pans. But in the background, shit was going on, like big stuff. So all the big companies were buying shipping container space. They might not have been using it, but they were buying it. They were buying their way into eradicating competitors
the
small guys.
The small guys.
Yeah. And they were creating chaos in the Suez Canal, like they were blocking it. There was all that sort of stuff going on.
That's right.
You couldn't get anything into a port. So if you did bring stuff in by sea, it was sitting in a port for like 6 weeks. We actually had a set of pajamas that we bought in for Christmas. We shipped them in the end of September and they were due in November. We pre-sold them all as Christmas pajamas. We didn't get them in till January. They sat in a port for 6 weeks, not moving. And I was like pulling my hair out. And it's so hard people just cannot understand. They can't understand that. Well, that can't be possible. There was big, huge companies buying up all the sea container space, basically to cut everyone else off. So we couldn't ship, and sea shipping was the only affordable way for us to get our stuff in. Yeah. So our tights and socks are made in Portugal, so we can do road transport, which is fine. But our waffles, we can only make them in India. So we can only bring them in by sea, like flying them in.
Costs too much.
Oh yeah, you'd have to sell a kidney. But now we can't bring things in by sea. Sea shipping is more expensive than air.
Even now?
Yeah.
And will that change anytime soon?
We've just been warned by our shipping companies not to even go to sea shipping. They're like, don't do it. Can't guarantee we'll ever get what we've ordered.
That's crazy.
Pirates.
Yeah, that's crazy though, isn't it? Like, as you said, it's like they're just trying to I suppose I look at it like the Amazon effect, where they were trying to just squash the independent mom and pop shops, the small little businesses, because we're the big boys and we can do it.
Yeah.
And that's really tough. Like, I mean, just psychologically as well, to be faced with that at a really dark time. And even now, like, you can't go back to the way things were. So how have you adapted then? Have you adapted in any way to kind of just trying to stay relevant and competitive?
Yeah, we've just gone broke. Honestly, when there's no profit. So we made a t-shirt and short set last. See, I can't. It's like you, Slugs and Snails. T-shirt. We made t-shirts and shorts for the first time ever last year, and we did them on pre-order, so that paid for the stock, and 100% of our profit paid for the shipping. So we made no money, but we produced a product that reached different markets.
Yeah.
And we have a tiny bit left, which might then cover our next shipping. We are literally working for shipping costs.
It's crazy.
Like, I'll just show you. This is my shipping costs now. So I don't know if I see. So in 2019, I looked at this today. America was our fastest growing market. We had a great shipping price in America. It's 50% more than it was in 2019. So I could ship something for like €9, and now I'd be paying 18. And I can't. You see,
that's hard to justify though as well. Like,
and Australia's gone. So if I ship now to Australia, and it's more than a kilo, it's like 35 quid. But a pair of adult pajamas would weigh the best part over 500 grams, so it'd be classed as a kilo. 35 quid. So there's one that went missing in November. She paid €5 shipping. She paid €34 for her pajamas. I paid 35 to ship it, and it's gone missing. I have to refund that. So I'm like doubly down. So we have to start. I'm so stubborn. I haven't cut off Australia because I'm like, why should I? But at the same time, I'm not making any money. I can't sustain it.
You're treading the water, basically. You're just staying afloat.
Yeah.
And
hoping someone will change something.
Yeah. And I mean, look, you have to be admired, I think, to do that, because a lot of people will just chuck it in and say, look, we forget about that market, just leave it. But on the hopes that at least maybe if you give it another year, see what it is, and then reevaluate. But you can't do it forever because your time and energy, you're getting nothing back for it if you're just treading the water.
Yeah.
So do you sell much locally?
No.
It's all exported.
Yeah.
Right.
We have a couple of people that order locally, but like Ireland's our smallest market.
Yeah. That's normally the way though in businesses like this. They're in the country, but their market is the other side of the world.
Oh, we export. Like, we are big exporters, but we can't get any help with export. We don't qualify. Enterprise Island. Don't get me started on Enterprise Island. They hate me.
Really?
I'm forever typing like, this is fucking ridiculous. Yeah, we're exporters. So, like, it's not easy to build a brand from a rural location that has sold in countries all around the world. Like, we had a retailer in Chile, Iceland, South Korea. Like, you name it, we've been there. We've got retailers everywhere. Enterprise Island won't help us. And I'm like, that's not very enterprising, is it? You know, you have to have 10 employees.
Is that because you're not selling locally in Ireland? Is that the reason?
No, it's because we don't have 10 employees. But if I had 10 employees, I wouldn't bloody well need Enterprise Island to help me out because I'd have 10 employees. I think it's because they want high ticket. They want it's to look good on paper, government figures. So if you have somebody that's coming along and they're exporting 10 million euros worth of stuff every year into America, it looks great for the government papers. But they don't help the small guys get to that place. You have to be at that place before they'll help you, which kind of is counterproductive as far as I'm concerned. We need help with our export. There's like so many businesses my size just never make it.
Too small, falls through the cracks.
Yeah.
Well, that's a shame, isn't it, though?
Yeah.
Especially,
I'm just too stubborn to walk away.
But as well, like to not promote or even reward innovation. And I mean, the fact that you stayed after the 2020, like obviously Brexit first.
Yeah.
Your clientele gets sliced, and then COVID comes, and you're still here.
Yeah.
It just shows the stubbornness,
Defiance.
defiance.
You're not taking me down. I will go down with the ship. That is my motto. I'll go down with the ship like a good captain.
So how are you prepared for the next
I'm
pandemic?
never prepared for anything. Honestly, never.
You just take it as it comes.
I am so unprepared. I wing every day. People ask me questions and I'm like, I don't know. Like, how are you still going? I remember a few years ago, the LEO set me up with a business mentor and sent me all the way to Dublin to meet this guy, that Red Cow roundabout. And he pulls up and he had this other guy with him. And, it's intimidating. I run a business from here. It's just me and Andy and 3 kids. There's no one to bounce things off. Do you know what I mean? We kind of just have to make up as we go. Neither of us have a background in this. And we have no support network. It's just us. So I went to the LO and I was like, I could really do with someone to help me out, to tell me how to deal with factories. I didn't know, what's the best way. And when it's just me and him, it's quite easy for you to come across as really small, which then you get pushed around.
Of course.
So I kind of needed some backup. So I went to the LEO and they sent me to meet this guy in the Red Cow roundabout. Oh, he was so rude. 3 hours. He just sat there and patronised me and laughed with this other guy. I didn't even know who the other guy was, saying, can you believe she's made it this long? And then he'd ask me a question and then they'd crack up laughing. They're like, do you not know that? And I'd be like, no, I don't know. And I was really intimidated. And then he was telling me how successful he was and how he had, had concessions in all these department stores and you're not in a department store. And I was like, oh shit. And I walked out of that meeting thinking, fuck, I've got, I just felt like a bit of a loser. And then I seen him getting into a manky old transit van and I thought, well, you can't have been that fucking successful, you prick. Sorry, am I allowed to?
Fire ahead.
It's like, who do you think, how successful are you? Criticising me for winging it and you're getting into a transit van, so you're not the millionaire that you're making out.
Talks good
and
on paper.
You might have done well at one point, but you're not doing it anymore. At least I'm still going. So I never went and asked for any more mentors. I thought, bollocks to that. It's very easy for people to tell you advice when they've never walked a day in your shoes. No one has done what I'm doing.
Exactly, yeah. It's hard to take advice from someone. Maybe even someone that's in business you can take advice for, but then it comes to, this is a little niche industry, so it's hard for someone to even know your industry and say, yeah, you should be doing this. It's like, well, no.
It doesn't apply to me.
You and Andy know it better than anyone.
Yeah. We've made it up for 14 years. 14 years. Like last year I did, not last year, the year before last year, I did a business thing with a guy called Jesse Itzler. His wife founded Spanx. She's the most successful woman in America. And I thought, this is my big break. I've got one-on-one mentorship with 2 of America's most successful entrepreneurs. And I came away from 6 weeks of that. He's a great contact to have. And I did get some good advice from him that might work when I'm a millionaire. But, right now, when you'll get this guy saying to you, just hire in your weakest link. And I'm there thinking, I need to pay the mortgage next week.
Yeah.
I am the weakest link.
Functional advice is probably not what he was offering in that respect.
No, I need someone in the middle who just is like a bit more logical and but I don't think that person exists. I think I'm that person now. I've been doing it long enough. What I need is more hours in the day.
And so you don't have staff?
No.
Just the 2 of you?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you had
kids,
staff, well, you're training them up.
They're rubbish. One of them's good. The other 2 are rubbish.
You have 3 in total?
Yeah, 3 boys.
Right. And so if you had staff, do you think it'd be a micromanager? Do you think it'd be kind of like hovering over in every little...
Yeah.
Or you wouldn't be a hands-off saying, you go and...
No,
okay.
We have a work experience girl in at the moment. Her ass never left the chair today. I can't tell people what to do. I'll just sit there.
Okay.
I was go on TikTok. Oh, yeah, you ran. Just sit there. I was just getting all the gossip off her, to be honest, because she goes to school with no... So I'm like, so tell me... Who does he fancy? I'm terrible. Andy will tell you. So I ask him to do things and then I'm like looking over his shoulder going, why have you stuck the label there? I can't believe we're still together 25 years and we work together every day. And he never comments back. He allows me to, I'm a nightmare. And I say to people, I'm burnt out. I can't do this anymore. I need help. And he'll go, I'll do that. And I'll go, no, I don't want you doing that. I need to do it. Although last night I let him and Noah go down to the office and do a stock take, which I never let them do. And I went in this morning and I was biting my knuckles. They did a great job. I looked really nice and tidy. But I was like, oh, God. Instead of writing the quantities on a piece of paper, he wrote them on the boxes. Who does that? What are you thinking? Now I have to go around and try and read the writing on the boxes. By the time I get time to do that, that stock won't be the same. So he's wasted his time.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything. Now I've done it.
Do you think 10 years from now you'll still have the same business?
Realistically, yeah.
Right. And if someone said to you, okay, look, you're not going to have slugs and snails in 10 years, and you had to come up, pivot.
A new idea.
Yeah, a new idea. Is there any avenue, any industry that you'd say, yeah, I'd like to try that, at least try?
Do you know what? I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That sounds so poserish, but I can't work for other people. I'm sure my employer in Boyle will solidify that. I'm sure. I never understood what was the point in going to work. My dad was a plumber. He was self-employed. My mum worked for a publishing company, but all I ever seen was her coming home with fancy shopping bags. So I didn't really see the 9 to 5 that most people are like raised to see. Both of my brothers have unusual jobs, or one of my brothers was really successful as self-employed before the banking crash. So I've always seen people my family making their own money. And I just could never understand when I went into the workplace, I found it really hard to be dictated to.
Right.
I don't know. I was fine at school, but when I'm working for people, I found it really hard to fit into a box where you sit at a desk all day and you do this job and then you go home, and then if your kids are sick, you have to ask someone, can I go home half an hour early? My kid's got a fever, or you get 20 days holiday. I just couldn't understand, is that it? I can't do that.
Yeah.
So as much as being self-employed is brutal, honestly, it is, you're never off work. But I'm the author of my own misfortune. I own my day. And if I want to stay in bed, I can't because I've got kids. But if I want to, drop them at school and go home and sit and eat crap and drink tea, which me and Andy do quite often, which is why we don't have the Georgian house, I can do it. But if I want to go back to London and see my mum, I don't need to ask some permission. I don't run out of days.
Yeah.
I do have to work late into the night trying to manage emails and all that stuff. But I get a buzz out of it.
Mm.
It's like you get addicted to it,
as you
making
said,
money out of nothing.
Yeah, as you said, you're the author of your own day.
Yeah,
you can decide, and it's not for everyone.
No.
One thing that I know a lot of people struggled with. I was saying this to a lot of my friends. We've been in the online space since 2013 full time, so we could see that the freedom it gives you.
Yeah,
and we were always saying there's going to come a day where most people are going to be working at home. And they were all saying, no, that'll never happen. COVID came and most people were working at home, but it didn't suit most people because either they hadn't a work environment or they couldn't actually, you need that separation.
Yeah.
I hate working at home. I love going to coffee shops. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Because it's just a separation. You come home then and it's not your work environment. So imagine during COVID where people didn't have that, including us. We couldn't go to coffee shops. Obvious reasons.
No. Could sit outside coffee shops.
You could.
Get wet and
exactly,
cold.
Yeah. But so for some people, working at home or working for themselves isn't really, it's just maybe there's a bad environment at home or you don't have that separation. So it's difficult.
Yeah.
So even for the likes of us that we like this lifestyle,
it's
still tough. It doesn't take away the toughness of it. As you said, No one's tapping you on the shoulder saying, do this, do that. You have to be motivated yourself to do
Yeah.
it. And some days the motivation isn't there.
No. Lots of days it's not that. My dad used to have a nickname called the Mushroom because he only came out at night. He did his best work at night. And I am so much like him. I wish I could tell him now, like, oh, I'm the same. I'm so much like him. I can spend all day just going, oh, I'm so tired and thinking of all the things I need to do. And sometimes I'll go down to the office and I'll be there till 2 a.m. If I was to bring my laptop home and try and do any work from home, I'll put something on to watch and then I fall asleep. I can't work from home. I just can't.
That's what I was saying. It's a detachment that you need to have. Yeah, I get that. A lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
But I think with COVID came, it was forced into a lot of people. And then businesses obviously realised then, oh, we don't have to pay as much rent now. We can have people working from home 3, 4, 5 days a week or whatever it is. And that shift has happened. It's not necessarily a good thing.
No, I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's good for yourself as well to get out. If you're just working from home, we're going to just get more of an insular society where people, like this generation of kids coming up now, are really shit communicators because they're always on their phone. They don't engage. They're not looking at each other. You add into that mix people that don't have to go out. You're just going to have a society that's like something from Wall-E, where they sit in a chair with a headset on and they cut numbed. Yeah. You need to get out. You need to feel like you've done graft, and I don't think when you do it at home, you don't feel like you're grafting.
Yeah. And
you need to get dressed.
Well, yeah, debatable.
Unless you're wearing my pajamas.
Yeah, of course.
And then everyone come over. No, but you do. You need to feel like you graft, and I don't think you feel like you're really grafting when you're at home.
Mm. Then Boyle. I love Boyle. Yeah. It has its advantages and disadvantages. Yeah. And I always talk about this on the podcast because I think it's important to highlight both because, that's the way it is with every town.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, what are the Boyle's positives?
Good people. Solid people. It's a good town for people. And it's beautiful. It's got an amazing location.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely amazing location. I don't think the people of Boyle really understand
Take it for
quite
granted,
how beautiful.
Self-included, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like even where I live up there, we overlook Kish. I always get ripped for saying that wrong, but I just...
Kish.
Can't do it. I call it Kish. I can see it.
Yeah.
But like my kids wake up in the morning and they're looking out at this like ancient landscape that's steeped in history. We have such an amazing history. And I think Boyle really does. It draws in the nomadic people. It draws in people who really love the folklore and the tradition. And it's starting to, I think it's starting to kind of like embrace that a little bit more than it did. But it's just an amazing, you have to go away from here and live somewhere else to really understand what you have.
Yeah. That's right. I'm the same because like we do an awful lot of travel over the last 10-something years and we always come home.
Yeah.
And we don't have to, but we do. We choose to because love Boyle. It's where I grew up. It's our friends or, our family, obviously. But there's something that draws us back.
Yeah.
Even though the weather is crap, as we know. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a draw. So people always ask us, why do you keep coming home? Like, because we want to.
Do you know there's people that spend their entire lives dreaming about spending a week in a place like Boyle?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And there's people like in my parents' generation that left when they were young and who can't afford to come back and live here, who it's their one wish is to come home and to live in a place like this. It's just like, but the only thing is I hope we can maintain this uniqueness that we have as the island of Ireland. I've been to so many places. There's nothing comparable. We have such our history and heritage. It's remarkable.
It is. And then, Kathleen, the not so positives, is there any that stand out?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Here we go.
Do you really want me to answer that question?
Yeah, you've just got to be honest. I mean, everyone's opinion is different and it's, that's just the way it is.
Oh, it's been decimated. That town in the last 20 years. was just looking around it today and thinking, when I moved here, there was the moving stairs, there was a restaurant under O'Dowd's, there was Kate Lavin's. It's gone now as well, I think.
It's open every couple of, I think, at the weekend.
Yeah.
There's only 6 pubs though in town now.
Is that all? Wasn't there like 28 at one point, or 48?
There was 28.
28, that's it.
Well, I think
Yeah, I think
32 at one stage.
Yeah.
I think that was the early days, but then there was definitely
That might have been too many.
26. Then it was down to like the 20, 18, or 20, then 18. But as I say, you used to be able to do the 12 pubs at Christmas, and you could
Twice.
Now you have to do the 12 pubs at Christmas, and you have to go around twice.
You could do the 12 pubs of Christmas and the 12 pubs of Hanukkah.
Yes, yeah.
If you needed to. Yeah, no, it was buzzing. Like McDonald's, that's gone.
That corner, yeah.
There was Brian Kelly's sister had a newsagent across the road from his shop. That's gone. There's just, it's been allowed to die. Like really, obviously die.
Yeah. Why do you think you've lived here now 20 years, you've seen the decline? Because 2005, they were great years. Like, there wasn't the decline that we see now. Why do you think then would it have slowly declined? Is it just a rural Ireland town that's...
No, it's government. Definitely. Where's the money going? First of all, why are we building another library? It's like, what, 5 million? Is it 5 million? I think 5 million for another library. Our library location is gorgeous. That was one of my favourite things. When the kids were small, I'd go into the library. It's a beautiful building. It's a great place. Tourists go in there. It's right where it needs to be. We don't need another library. But we've got 2 enterprise centres. I think one's closed down now because it was allowed to just fall into complete disrepair. As much as we are an enterprising town, we ain't that bloody enterprising. We don't need 3 buildings for enterprise. We need a hotel. We need... we need some traditional shops back in. If you come as a tourist to Boyle, you need a coffee shop. You need these sorts of places where people can do a loop of the town slowly and pop into little shops. Like I've seen a little pop-up shop now. Where is it? Gran's? The music shop.
Yeah, the kind of antique shop and stuff like that. Yeah,
stuff like that. You need something that's going to draw in people to browse and go around. We don't have anything like that. Rates are absolutely astronomical. It's brutal. I don't know why we pay them. Why am I paying rates to build another fucking library? Honestly. And like, we have a library building that's pretty much empty. You have 1 or 2 council workers up there. What the hell are we doing? Where's the money going? It's almost like our towns are just being eradicated by design. It feels like it's by design. I've seen it over the last 20 years. There's no impetus on the government to pump any money back into these small towns. It's like strip them away of their community, strip them away of their base and their core retailers, and they just become faceless.
I've heard that being said about most of Europe, that they're trying to kind of knock the barriers between cultures and traditions, so that we're all kind of like one big
robot.
Yeah, one big kind of pot of soup where it's a bit of everything and everywhere. That tradition and culture. I've heard that's been talked about. So, is that what you're thinking, maybe, Kathleen? That the government are selling us out, kind of Europe?
Yeah, just because all we're going to become Europeans.
Yeah,
that doesn't work. Ireland has. You have to maintain your cultural integrity. That just means that you hold on to the things that make you unique. That's what, you go to America and every second person wishes that they have Irish ancestry, and they claim they do, because we have such a rich and diverse background. But we're watching this. There's one generation, it'd be my parents' generation now, and, they're dying off. And we're at huge risk of losing. This is one of why your podcast is also so good, because you're keeping these stories. We need to keep that historical significance alive. We have to keep our cultures alive. We have to keep our traditions alive. And, it would decimate this country. It's too small to lose its integrity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been said. And then if you think about it, then a lot of people I talk to are saying the same thing, that the government are selling us out, all this, but yet they just got re-elected the last general election. So how? I don't understand if, did you not realise, I call it the same circus, different clowns.
100%.
Because that's all it is.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to have any get up and go to do something to change. But if they're being voted in, obviously then the people are voting them in.
Who? I don't, this is the thing, call me a conspiracy theorist, but who is voting these people? I'm really skeptical on that.
Yeah.
I'm really skeptical. That last election, I really doubtful.
Because if you change nothing changes.
Nothing.
So why not at least say, now I know people will say, oh, you don't want the likes of Sinn Féin getting in there. I understand all that, the big parties, but like something has to change, because if we're going down the slippery slope economically, we're not going to come out of it well.
No.
And towns like Boyle will definitely be the end of the end.
Ghost towns.
We're at the bottom of the pyramid.
Yeah. We're at big risk of losing. Like, it doesn't take long for a small town to expire, if the wrong people are pushing the wrong agendas. And just look at what's happened in the last couple of weeks. We were without power for 14 days.
That's right.
It was absolute murder.
You were for 2 weeks?
2 full weeks.
So had you a generator?
No.
Okay, so it's like
losing our fucking minds. Honestly,
how did you so you have open a stove or an open, right?
Yeah,
godsend.
Yeah,
people don't realize.
Yeah,
godsend the stove and open fires.
All those passive houses.
This is it, and so many houses have been built
without chimneys
because they couldn't get planning permission, even though they wanted them, they couldn't.
It's like, but something I've really noticed as a child coming to Ireland, my favourite thing was when you stepped off the boat or, off the plane, whatever, the smell of turf. It is the most iconic thing. And all, like my brothers, my cousins, everything, that was the thing. You knew you were home. That was the smell. You don't smell it anymore. It's gone. Like, how? I've been here 20 years, and in the last 5 years, I've suddenly just looked around and gone, where did that's such... And I know the green people are going to come for me, but you go and buy briquettes in the petrol station now and they're imported from Germany. That's more of an economic, environmental disaster than using our natural resources, which we can use in a way that's not ridiculous. That's one thing, losing things like that. In the last, say, 6 years, the government has absolutely brutalised this country. Absolutely. Who in their right mind is voting for them? I can't get my head around it. I know there's a little bit of nepotism going on. And also you do have one thing that's unique in your political system, which is small towns, and you might have a local man who represents the small town, and he might look after his mates in that small town, and he'll get his votes from that, and a little bit of my old mate, so and so, and that's what keeps them in that. I can see how that keeps them in their seats. But when they're shafting their constituents, which is what I'm seeing, then surely, is it that we're just so conditioned into thinking this is our only option, we just keep voting for these and maybe they'll change? Or is there something else going on? Yeah,
I think that's kind of ingrained into Irish voting society, is like, the Sinn Féin, sorry, not Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, historically the two big players, and it's like who gets go at driving the car this time? And,
like two toddlers.
This is it.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know much about politics, but I listen to people that do.
Yeah.
And I hear what they're saying, and I'm going, well, if the system is broken, why isn't it anyone trying to fix it? And I know there's a lot of independents have tried.
Yeah.
But if they don't get the votes,
they're never going to get it.
Because they're all conspiracy theorists and all this kind of stuff.
Right wing. Don't forget the right wing.
Oh, the right wing, yeah. So, so and those labels, are pigeonhole people, and then once you put a label like that on far right or this, that, the other, it's like
they're out of the game.
They are.
Yeah.
Because you have the older generation that are still listening to everything RT says.
Yeah.
And they can't, not so much they can't take for themselves, but they just say, oh, but sure, it's always been this way.
Yeah.
And as you said,
Safe bet.
hoping something would change.
Yeah.
But the recent storm, like there was a lot. We were out here for like a week. We were lucky with a week.
Yeah, that feels like nothing to me now when people say that.
Yeah.
But it would have been a ridiculous thing
double,
to say.
Like you had double.
Yeah.
There was a few houses here that were 16 days. I think somewhere nearby 16 days.
Yeah, up in Colfather 17 days.
17 days. Like that's just crazy. And I always think then, why, when I was young, even 20 years ago, we had some power outages, when you were here, I'm sure.
But no, we never.
Really? Well,
only in the last year.
They might, and they'll say, well, we don't have the storms. Okay, I understand. Yeah, we don't have the storms. But guess what? Having we better technology than we did 20 years ago, 30 years ago. When I was a kid, I remember you'd have a storm would come, the lights would flicker, you might go out for an hour or two, maximum a day.
Yeah.
2 weeks? Nah. Like it's just crazy. We're not why we should be investing more money in a proper ESB.
No, but we are. No, we're investing the money in the ESB. The ESB should be investing the record profits that they made last year back into the infrastructure. I have literally become a TED Talk ESB spokesperson here now, because in the last 2 weeks, the only thing I could do was rant and rave and research and speak to people. And I made great friends with the 2 ESB guys that came up and eventually fixed our power, because they had to fix everyone else on the high power, the high tension lines.
Okay.
See, I even know the technical terms.
Right. And
that's how much time we spend together.
And then they have to come in then and fix.
They were being told to leave, the small guys. And our job was only a 2-hour job. But they could have done it on the first day, but they were told the ESB is fined by the numbers. So they had to go around and fix the big numbers. And the reason why you didn't have power outages as much when you were younger, I'm not judging your age here. I'm guessing you're a bit younger than me, but I'm guessing you're my age-ish, is because we have fast-growing forests here. So the average lifespan is 30 to 35 years. I got told that by a very smart farmer the other day. And so when we had storms as kids, those plantations weren't up through the power lines that they are now. But what happened was the government put legislation in place, and you have to leave like a 20 metre breaker either side for the power lines. And everyone kicked the can down the road. Oh, sure, yeah, we'll deal with that in a few years' time. The trees got bigger. Nobody went in and dealt with them. The ESB knew full well that there was these trees growing up through the power lines, but they just left it, and they'd retrospectively come in and cut down the odd one here and there after the fact, after the damage had happened. Like, the French crews came in, and a lot of them refused to go up our poles. That sounds a bit more filthy than it is intended. But they said some of them were from the 1950s, which is when we first got power here. And they refused to put their people into what they considered a dangerous situation. The ESB made record profits last year and the year before. It was me and you that paid for that. Where is the money going? Where the government... the government seems to be creating these crises. Now, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would tell you there's an agenda behind that. So, one way to discourage future generations from rural living is to leave them without power when they're 13, 14, need a hairdryer, need a hair straighteners, no phones. As they grow up, rural living doesn't appeal. So it pushes them into these
smart
15-minute cities,
And, yeah, of course.
That's a logical way of looking at it if you're prepared to doubt what's going on in the world at the moment. And I do living 14 days without power, without any support. That was what was key for me.
Yeah.
It was the fact that there wasn't anyone rallying around. I mean, like, there's still bits of, you go up the tree out the road towards my house, there's still pine trees hanging over the road. There's still pine trees hanging on the infrastructure. Where's the council? Where are the cleanup crews? Why is it that we're being decimated here in all different areas and different things that's happening, and the government is staying really silent, but also our elected representatives are also staying really silent.
That's true.
And so you have to wonder why?
Yeah.
Why aren't they saying this is outrageous? Where's the support for that? It cost me a fortune that last 2 weeks. 3 children, there's 5 of us, trying to keep the house warm with coal, waking up in the night. We had no sleep because we were having to keep fires going. There was one morning, the last morning, I woke up and it was -2. And I had to take my son to the school bus at 7. And I got to Centra. This is really embarrassing. I got to Centra and Gurchin, still wearing my pajamas with clothes over the top because it was too cold to get changed. And I stood there and I realised we'd run out of gas. We were being rationed gas. Shout out to Sloan's though, because they were really clever. Rather than just letting one person come in and buy all gas for the little camping stoves, they made sure every day that you could go in and you could be guaranteed a bottle of gas. Like, it's 2025.
I know, that's what I was saying.
We were being rationed gas.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for people like that who considered the community, where was the council? Where was the army? We have an army. We have, there was the Boyle Family Life Centre. They were the only people that came out and made sure that people were at least fed. It really, I'm still not over it.
And I wonder, will ESB prices be more expensive next year as a result of...
I mean, they've already dropped the bombshell. They've already said.
Have they?
You're going to be paying for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then,
but it's not just that. There was no, if you pay for a service, legally, I don't understand how it's been passed off. If you pay for service and you don't receive that service,
they'll come out with some, I think they've already come out with some vouchers or something like that, but I don't think it's going to appease a lot of people, that, especially if it happens again, which I'm sure next winter again, stuff like this will happen.
This is twice.
Everyone is talking about, getting the generator for next year. So they're being conditioned already to prepare for this again.
Yeah.
And I suppose it makes sense. Well, look, what alternative do we have apart from just getting a generator and being prepared for something again? Because no one likes going without fridges and freezers for a period of time like that.
Yeah. So, but then again, it's the Green Party that were pushing this, getting rid of turf, getting rid of chimneys and houses. Well, how green is it when every house around here has to have a generator? That's a huge amount of fuel that has to be consumed. And also I noticed I was in Paris when the storm hit. And when I came back, it looked like a war zone. I've honestly never seen anything like it. I've lived here 20 years. I've never seen anything like it. We had a warning that this was how our situation was last year when we had storm. Was it Dara?
Oh yes, yeah.
Right. The forest up towards our house, the trees snapped in half. They didn't fall down; they snapped in half. The ESB had a warning then to go in and do the preliminary works to make sure that this didn't happen. We were out of power 4 days then, which we thought was crazy. We were going mad after 4 days. I never in my wildest dreams imagined I'd have to live 14 days with no power. And a lot of my neighbours had no water as well, because you've got pumps, so it's, I think there's been an intentional neglect of the West. There always has been a bit of neglect of the West, but it's really obvious now when you looked at that ESB map and you've seen Cork and all the East Coast all back in power in the north, and then there was just a massive circle of the West, and there was 2 guys from Wicklow that covered our entire area. I knew them so well, I actually sent them some stuff from Slugs and Snails as a thank you. I actually know their names and addresses now and their kids and everything, because they were doing so much work around us, but it was just 2 of them. You're talking about thousands and thousands of houses and 2 people. And then they brought in tree cutting crews from Yorkshire. And those lads said to me, they said, we've never seen anything like this. Never. And they said it's not been talked about anywhere. They were like, this is catastrophic. And it's not been talked about anywhere. And they said that they were going in and just trimming back the damage that had been done. But they said their job in the UK is to go around to all the electricity infrastructure and cut the safe paths for the electricity. And they said they'll be clear for 20 years. And they said that's never been done here. But it's still not being done. Do you know what I mean? It's still not being done. I don't think it will ever be done. It's just we're just going to keep cleaning up this mess and just accepting it. We just seem to be accepting it. It was like once you got power back, it was like, oh, well, you got power back now. That's it. Game over. I remember some people saying to me, well, it's your fault you don't have a generator. No, but I'm paying the highest electricity price in Europe, so I shouldn't need a generator. Why would I have a generator? And also, a generator wouldn't power the shit that we need. You have to have like a generator that's thousands.
You just for lights and maybe the fridge.
Yeah.
You know, and realistically, that's what most generators that people buy and are going to be buying will do. But at least it probably keeps the food fresh and all that. But
you still can't cook it.
No.
Do you know?
If you don't,
it doesn't make any sense. You know, but like generators are not the way forward. Yeah. There needs to be. The only person I seen was Claire. Is it Claire Coran? How do you say her name? Claire Coran. She was the only person that was actually out there. Like, you know, people could go to her for support. She was sending out forms. She was explaining how things work. She was the only person. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. How did these other buccos top the polls? Where were they? And then to see himself up in the door with his mismatched shoes, that I took that as an absolute piss take. That was him taking the piss without a doubt. Got dressed in the dark. But it wasn't fucking -2 though, was it, mate? You know, like he was taking the piss.
He was, you know.
Absolutely taking the piss.
It was just a statement to put out. It was pretty pathetic, to be honest.
Yeah,
it was. It really was.
I took it personally though. I'm not gonna lie, I really did.
So look, I suppose we could rattle on about that for a long time. But is there anything we haven't touched on that you'd like to talk about before we wrap up, Kathleen?
I don't know. No, I just, you know, we have a great little community. I love Boyle. I hope the people of Boyle realise what they've got and save it and keep it and protect it.
That's actually a good question. Then, if you were to design a little time capsule for future generations that come to Boyle, what would you put in it so that they could experience maybe something now that we have that in like 50 years, 100 years from now, that people...
Right. The first thing would be The Cure.
The Cure.
Why have we not got a documentary? I think someone did last year, but I've been saying for years, The Cure. It's so unique. And I see it in the mums groups around on Facebook all the time. Has anyone got The Cure for croup?
Okay.
Not The Cure, the band.
Right.
Although I do
or
like
cure
them.
the hangover.
Oh yeah, that too. We've got lots of cure. It's honestly like you need to tap into this. When I remember when I was pregnant with my second son, it was the first time I really it was like brought to me as a subject to like really contemplate it. And someone said my father's mother died in childbirth. She hemorrhaged, and so I'm named after her. And I've always thought, oh my God, they've named me after someone who died in horrific circumstances. It's going to happen to me, right? I was convinced. And I said it to my friend and she said, look, when you go into labour, I'll just give you the name for the man who has the cure for hemorrhage. Brilliant. Okay. It didn't dawn on me to like question what that actually entailed. So then I was like, okay, so has he got like a magic pill? You know, is he going to give me something, a potion? And she was like, no, I'll just give you his phone number. Oh, okay, sound. And then what do I do? So when you've had the baby, you text him. And I was like, what? And then, like, if I'm in Sligo and he's in Boyle, how is he going to fix me? And she was like, oh, you just text him and he'll give you the cure. And that for me, I was just like, I need to know more about this. I did it. I did do it. And I didn't die. And I just think there's not enough information about this out there.
Yeah,
there's not enough information.
It's the seventh son of us. There's these seven son of a seven sons, and there's loads of cures.
Yeah,
I was given but I got the cure of the burn from a lady up in Plains. Her name is Bridgie McDermott. Her daughter Joan is in the Scissors Palace in Boyle, and when I was 7, I got my face blown off from a fire that exploded in where we lived in the little shack back in the day. But I got the cure to burn because the hospital said that, you know, there's nothing we can do. And then I got that and had to put this ointment on my face for 3 days. And as my mum always says, this is, you've got to have faith.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was 7. How do I have faith?
Just trusting it.
I didn't trust her. It was magic. Whatever this cream
Yeah,
was
it's
magic.
magic.
It
That's
worked.
it. Yeah.
So, like, there's
It's like manifesting it.
a 6-month-old, a 1-year-old child doesn't have faith in something.
Yeah.
So there's magic in like some ingredients, obviously. So that's what worked. But I agree. We should definitely put that into the time capsule.
Yes.
And keep that.
And we need to keep that.
Really
what else? Do you know what? I'd love to put a steak in from the moving stairs, but they don't exist and it wouldn't last. They made the best steak ever. I think I would put, there's a few little old people around town, some of their wisdom.
Yeah.
And their insight, their knowledge. St. Bridget's Cross. I think it's an important part of our history. And I like when I see my kids come home with St. Bridget's Cross, I know, yeah, I'm in the right place. Something about that. I'm starting to understand the importance of our religion. I never appreciated it until I got older and seeing its value and the importance and the comfort it brings to people.
Yeah. And it's deeply ingrained in Irish society too.
Yeah.
And I agree.
And I respect it.
Yeah. And it's something we should hold on to for as long as we can.
Yeah.
Because once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone. There's no coming back. And I think when you're younger and you kind of blasé about it and ridicule it, yeah. I've got some family that's deeply religious and I never understood them until my children got older, until my dad died. Then I was like, actually, this is good. It provides, and that I'd something religious. A Moon Boy hat.
Of course.
Have to put that in. What else? Let me think. Something from Lockheed. That place is remarkable.
It is. It's magical.
Oh, it's amazing. Absolutely love it. And let me think. What else? That's probably it.
Yeah. Well, it's enough. And I think that was great. I really, really enjoyed the chat. Now, is there somewhere people can go to check out your Facebook?
I hate promoting that.
Give it a plug.
Slugsandsnails.ie.
They'll find everything else from there.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you, Kathleen. Really enjoyed it. I think it's a great conversation. And thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.